Hello, beautiful people around the world. Thank you for tuning in to an all-new episode of Ithaca Fan. I'm your host, Charles, with my co-host,
Jason Camacho, and like always, we like to provide insight on what's going on inside the sports world at the college, and we like to bring in athletes to interview so you can find out another side about them than the side you hear about with them just playing sports.
Yep. I want to give a huge shout out to my sponsor, Savage Roofers, brought to you by Ithaca Zone, Malik Morris. Here you got a couple merchandises right here. Also want to give, there you go. Also want to give a huge shout out to our other sponsor, Drop Spot, brought to you by Ithaca Zone, Isaiah Nardo. So shout out to you two for supporting us as we support you.
So this week we have senior Alex Arica. He's a close friend of mine. We've lived together. He's on the track and field team, and let's just get right into it. So one of the first questions you want to ask you is, how did you get your start in track and field?
Okay, so, growing up, when you're young, everyone races, everyone runs around. So I'd always been kind of like the faster kid on recess, just doing all that. And my school was kind of small, so we only had a cross-country team. So, people don't know, there's cross-country is, running outside, long races and tracks like that at the track. And so I did that when I was younger. And then when I got to middle school, that's when I finally started doing track. And I did track in the springtime and basketball in the winter. And so I did track, I just ran, and I loved it, started getting good at it, and eventually, because basketball was my first love of the sport, then eventually I started getting better at track, so that's why I started to focus and move towards track, and then that's how I got here.
So I know you pretty well. As I said, we've lived together, and we played a lot of basketball together.
Right.
You're pretty good at basketball.
Right.
So in high school, what really was it that made you want to focus more on track rather than basketball?
Oh yeah, so honestly, so I played basketball all 4 years, enjoyed it, it was great, and so by the time junior, senior year comes around, people are thinking about colleges, you think about sports you can play in college, and just kind of self-evaluating myself, I realized that honestly, it's way harder to play a sport, it's way harder to play basketball in college than it is to run track, because just limited spots, limited opportunities, you know.
Very true.
So I kind of just put my focus on my events in track, and originally I was just a runner, and then once I started moving to jumping, I started getting really good at that, and then schools reaching out to me just because of that, and then I realized no schools reached out to me for basketball, which was tough because I love basketball, but when I wanted, my ultimate goal was playing a sport in college, so I just kind of shifted my focus onto track, and that's how.
Now, going into that, you're looking into colleges now. Mm-hmm. So in that transition from high school to college, what were you looking from colleges to be your next home after away from home?
Right. So first for me and my family and my parents, come from African household. Mm-hmm. School is the most important thing. So it was really just the school, the education, and then kind of a fit for me. I wanted to be able to go to a place and get to do meets and compete. It wouldn't have been great for me to go to maybe a bigger school and then not be able to compete as much and just say, oh, I went D1, as opposed to going to a smaller school like Ithaca, where I still get to compete at the bigger school meets, but I get to also compete at smaller meets and then move on top of that. So it's a kind of combination of athletics and education.
Gotcha. So now, we're at Ithaca, and it's a predominantly white institution. Mm-hmm. So, what has helped you? What has shaped you when you're back home? Shaped you to prepare yourself mentally for a predominantly white institution and be.
So that's the funny part. So I'm actually from New Hampshire, which is 94% white.
Yeah.
So coming here, it was really kind of the opposite, because I had never been around. It's crazy to say so many people of color in one place, because it's just so much. There's so many white people in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And I was the only black person to graduate in my school. It's crazy. So like I said, it's the opposite. Coming here, it was wow, diversity. African people, black people, people of color. So for real, those kind of.
So what was some of that? So what was some of that transition for you? Coming from an area where
mm-hmm.
it was predominantly white,
mm-hmm.
and Ithaca's still predominantly white, but you said, mm-hmm. you're now exposed to this new diversity and all these different races and different cultures that you weren't exposed to before. So what was that transition like for you?
So I would say earlier on, I kind of, maybe it's not nervous, but like it took some getting used to, I guess I would say, because I guess probably at home, the only black people I would see or like spend like any like significant amount of time with are like African people and like Africans, like people from another country, like Kenyans, like. But then here there's like African Americans and like Haitians and like Dominican, like people in the Dominican Republic, and like it was a lot. So it took some kind of like, I don't know if like getting used to, but like I guess now I could say I'm a lot more comfortable. Not that I was like uncomfortable, but like I could see like the blend of cultures kind of happened, just like not by anything like I like did purposely, just kind of diffusion, just it kind of just happened, and I don't know, I'm definitely better for it. Definitely more like well-rounded as a person, I would say.
Yeah, I know I can relate to that personally. I went to a predominantly white institution like throughout middle school and elementary school and high school. So there would be times I would be traveling back to my neighborhood where then I have this complete different culture change where I'm hanging out with all these different races and cultures, where there is that sense of nervousness where how do they perceive me because because of my upbringing, and they know